Hey guys, this is your girl Nandi Mahlobo and welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your very first time, I'd like to welcome you and say please do subscribe. Do not forget to subscribe so that you do not miss any of my uploads and you become part of this champions club that we are actually forming in this channel. And if you are a returning viewer, I like to say, hey, champ, I hope you are having a great day wherever you are. And yeah, it's been an interesting start of a new year. And yeah, I've actually lost a lot of people that I know. It's been very weird. And it wasn't like the way I actually anticipated it, but hey, God knows best, right? So yeah, today is gonna be quite interesting because I will be sharing a part of me that I have never shared before. And reason being, I know some of you guys must be asking why hasn't she shared about this before. It's because I wanted to first understand where I am. I understand the new life that I was meant to be living. I had to heal, which was very personal to me. I had to make sure that even people that were involved have healed as well. And I also didn't want to, like, I don't even right now, I don't want it to be like I'm being malicious in any way or I'm trying to make anyone look bad. No, it's just the truth, as the truth will always be. And I will not be mentioning any names due to the fact that I'm just trying to run away from people and people saying that I said this, I said that. I will also be not, some of the places I will mention, some of the places I won't. But if you are just wondering what my vlog today is going to be about, it will be about living through an abusive relationship and almost dying in the hands of someone that was meant to love me and protect me as they promised to. And yeah, I will be like sharing a lot about that. And yeah, it's not going to be easy, but I'll try my best. Whew. So yeah, I'm gonna jump into how we met. You're gonna see me looking down. It's because I have notes that I've written it. This incident has happened like 8 years ago, so I just went back and I was like writing down like notes. This is where we met, how we met, and all those things. So I will be like looking down to just refresh my memory, but it's still the truth. It's not something that I just probably made up and written down. No, it's not like that. So how we met is I had a friend of mine that I had worked with, and because I had changed jobs, we hardly saw each other. So she wanted us to go out at night, and she knew that at that time I had just broken up with my long-term boyfriend and I was not okay. So she said let's just go out and chill out and enjoy ourselves. So I agreed. I said okay, maybe I do need to get out a bit. And so we went out, we had dinner, and then it was still fairly early. It was a Friday, I remember that very, very clearly. And she said, okay, there's this place, I'm not going to mention it. However, there's this place, it's going to be fun. Let's go there. We can go there for an hour, and she was meant to meet one of her ex-boyfriends there, and they'll have a talk, and then we go home. Okay. So I agreed. I remember that time I was the only one driving from all of my friends. I had my own car. I had a great job. I worked for the department of the police yes, I worked for SAPS at that time. I was PA for one of the deputy station commanders in one of the police stations right outside PMB. So I knew I was like the driver of everyone. I used to pick all of my friends up and I used to deliver them back home, you know. And she said we should go out and we're gonna have fun and we're gonna enjoy ourselves, and it's gonna be like something that's different from me, obviously. And I didn't want to go there. I told her like, no, I don't want to go, but she persisted like, let's go, you know. We're not doing anything, and it's not like we have boyfriends, let's just go, you know. And I just felt sorry for her. I was like, okay, let's go. So I agreed to go with her. I'm gonna skip a lot of things because of time, obviously, and a lot of things will be reflected on my book, my memoir. I am writing about the story, so my book is still. I'm still in the process of writing it right now, so it'll have more details than the actual vlog, you know, because of time, obviously. So I met him. Oh, okay. So we get into this the place, and at that time, I don't drink, so obviously being a driver, and anyway, I have my personal reasons why I don't like to drink and drink alcohol specifically. And so I went there. My friend was like, okay, let's go, we'll go for an hour. The guy that she was meant to meet was already there, so I was like, okay, we'll go for an hour though, because one, I don't like this place. Two, because of the reputation it had at that time. I was like, you know what, I'm not comfortable. I hear a lot of things about this place. Besides, I don't drink, so I have no reason to be here. So that time, clubbing was just not my scene. I had not lived that kind of life. And so I went, we go in there, we meet other friends. It's packed to its capacity. And we meet our friends there, and they say, okay, you can come sit with us, right? So we sit with them, and we sit and we were dancing. I'm having my juice, like I'm meeting all my high school friends, you know. At that time, I'm 21. You know, everything is just so new and exciting. And all I could see was just this man standing in one corner, busy calling me. And I'm just like, I don't want to come. So he kept on calling me, and he could just see that I'm just not interested in him. So he came to where I was, and I was just surprised because everyone, all of a sudden, I could feel everyone staring in my direction, you know. Then I stopped dancing for a while. I just stood there, and my friends and I were there, and our table was there. And I was surprised because even the guy friends that were at our table, they also gave him space, you know. Usually my guy friends would be like, no, you know, they will just reprimand whoever is just trying to get close to the girls in our group, you know. But this time they just let him come, and I was like, what the hell is going on? So all my friends, of the guy friends even included, they also were like, okay, they were giving him space to actually come and speak to me. And then he comes and he says, hey, hello, hi. I say hi. He says, can we speak? It's loud here. Can we go and speak at the VIP section, right? And I was like, no, I'm not going there. And he's like begging me. I'm like, no, I'm not interested. Like, I'm not going there. Could you just please leave me alone? I came to have fun with my friends. I'm not here for anything else. And he's like, yeah, I can see it's your first time here. And I'm like, and why would you know everyone who has been here? He's like, no, I've never seen you here. I'm like, yeah, that's because it is my first time. I just wanted to see the place. It's not my scene. And he was like, please come to the VIP. And I was like, no, I'm not coming there, please. I came to have fun, and could you just please excuse us, you know? And then he was like, please, I'm trying here, like I just want to speak to you, and you can come back to your friends, or you can come with your friends to the VIP if you don't trust me. And I'm like, no, I'm not coming there. Like, I don't know you, so I'm not coming there. And besides, I'm not here for meeting people. I'm here just to distress, you know? And then he just goes away. And I remember before we could leave, and then I was telling my friend is asking, what did the guy say? I'm like, the guy wants me to come to the VIP, and besides, this guy is just old. That's my honest opinion. I was like, this guy is old. Can't you see that he's... So it was true about this place where old big guys, the fat cats, come and look for young ones, you know. I was so convinced that, oh, it's one of those, you know. And so my friend we just carried on. And then after like 2 hours, we had stayed an hour extra. I remember telling my friend, like, let's go, because I still have to drop you off, and I still have to drive back home, you know. And it was getting late, and she already knew how my mom was with me coming home late, driving alone at night. So I was like, okay, you know what, let's just go. And then just before we could go, I was just saying our goodbyes, and poof, the man appears again. And now he saw one of my guy friends, and that was his ticket to me. So he told the guy friend of mine to invite me to a tournament. So anyway, I said I was gonna skip a lot of parts, and we went on. We decided that we'll go, because my friend was like begging me to go once more. She was a party animal. Like, she wanted to go out. She drank, so she really wanted to have fun. So I was like, okay, friend, let's just go. And we went there, and I remember the guy came, the man. So the man came, and he was asking my friends. He asked me for my number. He was very bold. Like, I think there was a lot of us, and he was very bold. He came. He's like, I'm happy you came. I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, this is for my staff. It's a Christmas party or something like that. It's for his staff. He's happy that I came, and I should tell him when I'm going home, and he'll like to have my number. I'm like, I'm not gonna give you my number. I told you, it's just not gonna happen. And then he's like, can I get it at least from one of your friends? I'm like, okay, fine, you can get it from my friends. And surprisingly, my guy friend that I thought would never give him my number, because there's so many people who have asked him for my number and never give it out, and he gave it out to the guy. But before I left, I remember the guy was like, I'm so glad, like, I'm very shocked and surprised, and it really makes me happy that you don't drink, you know. And then he was like, can I take you home when you're leaving? I'm like, home? And then what will happen to my car? Are you going to carry my car? And then he was just like, oh, so you drive too? And I was like, yeah, I drive. Then he's like, wow, where did you come from? And I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? He's like, wow, like, so he was amazed. And when I was leaving, I tried to escape him and run away, and we ran and we left. So from then, he kept on calling me. And I remember the first time that I met him out of the crowd or anything was my friend and I had gone to have lunch at Spur at the mall, and he actually called me. I ignored it. He called my friend, and he said he was coming. So we're like, okay, then come. So he came, and I remember when we were driving back home, my friend is busy, like, you know what, do you know who's this guy? I'm like, who's this? Like, this guy is very weird, and the respect that you guys give him is just, you know. And so my friend was like, "Do you know who he is?" I'm like, "No, I don't." He's like, "Okay, that's the owner of the place. Have you heard of this name?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, that's the guy." I'm like, "Okay, that guy is old, right? I admit that." But when they spoke about a name, I expected someone who was way older, who was fat, who was, because the name carried such a weight. I expected, something different, and he was totally different. The one thing that I must admit, he really, really had charisma. He was so charismatic, and he was easy to just want to be around, and he was so much fun. And how he won me, okay, then I found out who he was, and then surprisingly, when we spoke and he even spoke to some of our friends, he was like, he's gonna get married. He was like, "I'm not here to play. I don't want to date. I just want to marry you." I'm like, how can you marry someone you don't even know? And that led to us actually getting engaged, and I had my lobola negotiations taking place within 6 months that we met. I know within 6 months I was engaged. And how it happened, at first I remember I received a call from the other woman. I received a call, and she was like, "Do you know he's married? And what does that say to you?" And I remember I broke up with him. I told him that I was just not ready for such a relationship, and I never saw myself being in such a relationship, and in my family we don't do such. So I gave him all my reasons why I do not want to be in the relationship. And I remember he came to my workplace with one of his best friends, and they were begging me, and he said he was going to make things right, and he was going to speak to the other woman, and he was going to speak to the wife, and he was going to sort it out because he's serious about me. He wants to get married, and he doesn't want a girlfriend out of me. So those are the things that he told me, and I was taken aback, because I was like, I don't want to spend the rest of my life fighting with some other woman for her man. And he actually, within a few weeks, he sorted it out. Okay, so fast forwarding, he calls a meeting between me and the wife, and we all met at this hotel. I'm not gonna say, and that was our first time meeting, and she was very sincere, and she really took me by surprise. I was very shocked. I was like, whoa, I expected maybe she'll fight with me or whatever the case might be. But there was no such thing. We got along, so we spoke about everything. And that was when the part where I should not come in and out of the relationship as I please. So I have to make a commitment to the relationship, so that I do not come and disrupt the family setting. If I'm going to be introduced to the kids, I must be willing to stay forever. So I really, I don't know, I agreed for some reason. I agreed, and I was happy, because I thought the first wife was also okay with it, and she was happy, and she was comfortable with it. I thought that, hey, okay, maybe this could work, because I must mention that in his family they practice polygamy. So it wasn't just him being the first time. His dad had two wives. His granddad had 2 wives. So it's something they practice. It was brand new to me, but for him it was something that was normal. And according to what he said he always wanted to have two wives, and he had already wanted to marry someone else prior to me, but unfortunately she passed on. So that's the story he gave me, and I later learned that like it was true. He had someone that he was in love with, and he wanted to marry her as well, but then she passed on. And so I thought it was okay, I thought that, once then this guy is really serious about having two wives. And he even admitted it in front of both of us, the ladies, the women, that he wanted two wives. It's just the way he wanted it. And we kind of like, okay, let's just see how it goes. I could say when I first met the wife, we were very close. I took her as my older sister, and I'm sure she took me as a younger sister, and I thought she was really happy. But hey, action speaks louder than words. And so I said, oh, God, there's so many things I'm gonna leave out, and you guys have to bear with me. So the negotiations started. We did all the traditional stuff, and before we got married, then problems started from not our relationship, from the other relationship, and it affected us very badly. Like, I didn't even want to go on with the white wedding. I was in fear. I must be honest, I really did not really enjoy my white wedding as much as I would have loved to, because there were like a lot of things that were not okay, and the man being the man, he was adamant that this is just gonna go on regardless of how everything was at the time. So he insisted that, what, we're gonna go on. We had planned everything, and I must say, my wedding was a very beautiful day. Like, our parents were there, our families were there, everyone was celebrating it. Everything was beautiful, except that the first wife was not there. So there were already like problems in this love triangle. So it really pulled a strain. It was strenuous on us, let's just put it like that. And so after we got married, I remember I had actually changed jobs. I was now working at the Department of Transport, and I've always loved the uniform. So I applied for being an officer, and of course I got the job, and I was very excited. I went for my training, and when it was time to actually go, and I was gonna be deployed to a different place, and I was gonna leave the city. And before I could, I know I was living in Scottsville at that time. I was living in Scottsville, and he would come. And now it was time for me to go and work out of the city. And the man, wow. So I was meant to go and work also. I was very excited, I won't even lie. At the time I was like, oh, it's such a dream. I'm wearing this uniform, and it just made a statement. Everywhere would appear with my colleagues and best friends at that time. We just get this respect, and we loved it. And the uniform was like, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And then he asked me to quit my job. I remember, because he was the one who actually did my resignation letter. I resigned, and I thought it was love. I was like, no, it's okay. Then it means that I will work with the family business, and but only in one. I remember we had a deal. I would leave my job only for one reason, is that he allows me to actually continue to study. So that was one of part of the reason that I agreed. He agreed that I would study, and I wanted to do psychology, and he had agreed. He said, okay, as long as I don't leave to go elsewhere, as long as I'm gonna be around PMB. And so I quit my job for him, and I started working in the business side of it, of the family, and I was in security. And I remember when I met him, I already had, I was this girl that was actually going for everything she wanted. I've never been dependent on any man, because when I met him, I already had even my grade A certificates for security. And he was really surprised. And I think those are the things that made him fall in love with me, that I was just a go-getter. And so I worked on the security part of things. And I left my job, and we continued. And I knew that when registration came, he started pulling his face. He didn't want me to register at the university to change my career into psychology. And I had said that I was going to do management and psychology. So the management part was for the family business. Psychology was personal. I wanted to do it personally. And we agreed. And prior to that, wow, it was such a struggle. I don't know how many meetings. My family, even we had friends having a meeting with us with regards to me studying. So the power struggle started. That's where it began. Like, he wanted to control everything I do. He basically didn't, like, we moved away from the city to live on the farm. I had no neighbors. I only had people that worked for us. Those were the only people. I started studying, and I started making friends, and I started being happy. And remember now, the more he had problems from the other relationship, the more frustrated he got. And to be honest, I don't think he actually understood what it took to have two wives. I don't think he understood it. I don't think it needs one to be in love with one over the other. And that was causing a lot of conflict, and I used to tell him that, what, this is gonna cause a lot of conflict, that you get to do a lot of things with me, and you kind of like neglecting the other parts of the marriage. And that was not the deal, to be honest. And so he just did whatever he wanted to do. You could not tell him. And so the abuse started. He started wanting to control everything I did. He started even wanting me to actually, when it was the turn to go to the other family, he would want me to come with him. And whenever he was on my side, on my side he was fine, but he just didn't want to leave me alone. And he saw that he could see that I was actually, because I had friends, I was happy. I was no longer stressed about him going and being away from me and not spending the night at my house. I was really comfortable in my own skin. I was beginning to not fight it or anything. And not that I've ever fought it, but I just started not being like moping, because what, people can say whatever they want. Being in a polygamous relationship is one of the hardest things to do as a woman. It's just not easy for any woman, for that matter. People can say whatever they want. It's not easy at all. like looking at someone you love and knowing that he's gonna be somewhere else and he's gonna be happy with someone else, it's not easy. Like, people can just lie all they want. It's not easy at all. And yeah, and I thank God for my friends at varsity. Wow, they really were there for me. And so when he felt that he was losing power, or he was losing control over me, he started being abusive towards me. At first it started about by him trying to control the assets, like trying to control where the car goes, where it doesn't go. And then it went to hair pulling, and then it went to coming home and wetting my bed because I wouldn't listen to what he had to say. Then he started drinking a lot, excessively. And we a lot happened. I've had incidents where I was left on the freeway on our way back from a party that our friends have invited us in, and he left me on the freeway. I had to hike back home. Wow, it's, in the book you'll hear all about it. I've had incidents where I ran to the police station because he was hitting me. I remember, and the one thing he used to say was, well, I know now that you're not gonna forgive me, so I might as well end it. I think he had already known that he has done so much for me, and there was just no way that I could ever love him the way I used to love him. I had lost respect for him, and I suggested that we go and seek help. We went to a psychologist in Pelham, and we went twice. And the third time we were supposed to go back, we didn't go because the psychologist had started touching on his personal life. So they were asking him about his past, and he couldn't open up to a psychologist because obviously he was the one that's bringing the problem in our relationship. And so now the psychologist had to deal with him before it dealt with us. So it actually started asking him about his past, and he couldn't take it. And so we stopped going to the psychologist. I don't know how many times I've actually come back home trying to leave him. I've tried, guys. I promise you, I tried leaving him because every time he'll do something crazy. At first he'll apologize with gifts. He'll give me gifts, he'll buy me things, and he'll apologize. And one thing I did realize was that the more I tried to protect our relationship, the more the abuse grew. Like, I didn't want the world to know him as this bad person, but I really honestly know that he had a lot of demons that he was fighting. Like, he really wasn't okay. And he wasn't okay because this other time I got back home, and he was seated in our study, and he was writing a suicide note for both of us. He was saying that our families should forgive us for the pain that we are gonna give them, because he was gonna end our lives. And there's a lot of things that happen in our relationship, because even when our friends were around, he would really be very aggressive. And I remember there was even an incident where we were at the park with our friends, and he wanted us to actually go to one of our business places with our friends, and we had obviously customers that paid to sleep at the guest house. So I said, no, we could not do that. We can't make a noise for them. And he says that I just want to control everyone. And he took a gun out at the park, and our friends were there, and his friends tried to come between us and tell him not to do this, and he wanted to shoot one of his friends. And he says, why do you want to sleep with my wife? Oh, why are you standing in between us? And so his friends managed to distract him, and I ran with my friends, and we went and we spent the night at one of our friends' places. We were picked up at the garage by one of our friends, and he picked us up, and we spent the night at his house with my friends. And I remember, the one threat that actually kept me not leaving him was, and he used to threaten me and say that if I try to leave him, he will actually kill my mom, and he would kill all of my family, and I would feel pain wherever I was. And even on that day, when we went to my friend's place, his friends were calling me and telling me that he's saying that he's gonna go to my mom and he's gonna shoot her instead, so that I feel pain wherever I was. So I was forced to actually go back to him. And I've tried leaving him, guys. Honestly, I've tried so many times, and he would say, I remember he used to come back and blame it on the alcohol, tell my mom it'll never happen again. But it did. It kept on happening. And I had a protection order against him. Still did not help. I tried to leave, and didn't work. And leading up to the incident, so it was approaching the Reed, I'm not sure, a lot of people know, it was approaching the Reed dance. And at varsity, we had a friend of ours who was from the royal family. So he invited us, all of us, as in all of my girlfriends, and he said that we should actually come and experience the beauty of being African, and would go to Swaziland. And I remember days leading up to that, he agreed, because I'd asked him a month before, and he had my passport at the time, because him and his friends were planning to take the wives overseas. And so I asked him, where's my passport? And he says he has it. He'll give me when I'm going to Swaziland. And at first he said he was going to go with his own friends as well to Swaziland. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then he says he might not be able to go because they had a meeting of his Stokfela. So he was not gonna go because it was towards the end of the month. So they'll go. The guys will go every month. They'll go away, and they had this group that they were making money together. Okay, and so he agreed. But I remember 2 weeks prior to me going to Swaziland, he then decided, no, it's not actually a week, I should say a week. He said, no, I can't go. It's just not right. He didn't feel that it was right. For as long as I was married to him, I was not even allowed to spend the night in my own mom's house. he just did not allow me to do anything on my own. Like, I couldn't be away with my friends anywhere. I've never been away. So the Swaziland trip was going to be our first time. And surprisingly, he changed his mind all of a sudden. He says, I can't go. He will be away and I must just stay at home. And so we had a really big fight because of that. I just felt like, enough is enough. You just want to control my life. I was tired of the abuse. I was tired of being controlled. I was just tired of everything, And I remember before that, then I even tried to commit suicide. And he didn't take me to the hospital. He made us drive around and round and round until I was okay. So I kept on drinking water, and he didn't want to drive me to the hospital because he felt like, okay, my family's going to find out that he still hasn't changed. And so that weekend we're supposed to go away. My friends and I, my friends were so used to him and the abuse. They were like, you know what, we are just not all gonna go because it's gonna be problems. And so we decided, okay, fine, we're not gonna go. And the night of the incident, the afternoon we saw him, we're at Scottsville, we saw him, I don't know, we had to meet because of the keys or something of some sort. And he gave me the keys and we spoke a bit. And I told him that, okay, I'm going to be at Scottsville for a while and then I'm going to go home. And he was fine. And he was like, okay, that's cool. And for peace sake, I decided that, okay, we're not going to go to Swaziland anymore. And he seemed happy with that. And he told me that he was going to go away. Yeah, he was gonna go away. Okay, so my friends and I went for our dinner. Sorry. We went for our dinner. And after that, I begged my friends that they come and give me company because obviously the whole weekend I was going to be by myself. I asked both of my best friends at varsity, and one couldn't because she had to do something on Saturday. The other one agreed, so we drove back home. Around about 10, we drove back home. And we got home and we're dancing, having fun. I think about 11 we slept. So she slept in the other room and I slept in my room. And I think around about 2 or 1 in the morning, he actually came back home. I don't know what he was expecting. Maybe he was expecting to get back home and I am with another man, because he had told me he wasn't coming back. He was going for his stock fall. So I was going to be at home on the weekend alone. Or I don't know what he was expecting, so he came back home. And when he came back home, so he had his key and he opened and he closed all the doors. And he came and he woke me up. And the first thing he said, he was like, I told you that if I can't have you, no one else can. And today is the day that everything comes to an end. We're gonna die today. And he was a bit drunk. He had taken alcohol on that day. And at first I thought, oh, there he starts with his things, because he had a tendency of a habit of just waking me up in the middle of the night when he's come from the club or dancing or wherever, and he'll expect me to listen to his stories. We all know how drunk people are. Sometimes I'll be able to wake up, but like sometimes I wouldn't, and when I didn't, then he would fight with me. And so he woke me up in my sleepwear. I sat up and he asked me how I wanted it. Do I want him to shoot me looking at me, or do I want him shooting me under the pillow, And I just started apologizing. And saying that I was sorry. It will never happen again. I will listen to him. I'll do whatever he wanted. I just started begging him. And when he said that, I told you that today, I told you that I was going to end the life of both of us, for both of us. And I begged him. I remember even asking him, what about your kids? Don't you want to see them walking down the aisle and with their husbands and your grandkids? He says, no, kids grow up without dads. And because he was drunk, I managed to push him. And I pushed him and he fell in our private bathroom. He fell back and I opened the door to our bedroom, and as I was running in the passage, all I heard was him cocking the gun. So he cocked the gun and I tried to turn to look what is going on, and all I saw was him. He was definitely not the man I married, not the man that loved me. He changed. He just became someone else. And he said, I told you it was gonna end like this. I told you I was gonna, if I can't have you, no one else can. Told you, and I know you will never forgive me for the things that I've done to you, so it's best that we just end it like this. And so I tried to run into the nearest bedroom, and as I was turning to run, all I just saw myself. I fell. I didn't even see that I was shot already. I just fell down. And then it took me a few seconds to realize that I was shot. So, when someone shoots you, don't feel it immediately. The blood was hot, so I fell down, and I fell down on the floor, and I dragged myself into the bedroom that I was running into. And then he was walking up and down the passage. And he shot me again, and I just reflex, so it was coming from my face, so I went like this, and he shot me, and it actually got stuck on my hand. Thank glory to God, it got stuck on my hand. And then he shoots again, and I don't know where it went to. But I remember the last one was on my face, because I was already on the floor, so he's standing up, so it went on my jaw. And I just fell down. And he says, yeah, now it's done. I could just hear, in a daze, I could hear him say that. And as I was running the first time, I'm screaming my best friend's name, and I'm like, run. he's got a gun and he's gonna shoot you as well. And so when I was on the floor, all I heard was a shot. I didn't see where he was. And he was by the passage. And all I heard was that he could not breathe properly. Like, he was gasping for air. And I could just hear him, that he can't breathe properly. So I felt like, okay, that I have to get to the phone. I had to get to the phone. And I couldn't walk. I had to drag myself like a snake. I had to get past him to get to the cell phones to go back to our bedroom. So I had to drag myself over him. So when I dragged myself over him, all I saw was that he was breathing, but I only saw white, like a white matter, looking whitish, And I went over him, and I got to our phones. At first, I tried calling our maid who lived on the property but outside. I tried to scream. They couldn't hear me. I pulled down from the side stand. I pulled down our phones, and it fell. And I checked my phone, and the battery was so low that when I tried to call, it went off. And then I used his phone to call my own sister. And when I called my sister, and I told my sister that he has finally done it. That's all. I couldn't even explain to my sister. I said, okay, he has shot me and he has shot himself. So please come help. And if you don't make it, if by the time you get here, we are both no more, just know that he did it. He finally did it. And so my sister called her friend. This I found out afterwards. My sister called her friend, and the police station nearest to us. And within a few minutes they came. And I had lost a lot of blood. I was feeling cold. I remember screaming for my best friend and telling her that I was really feeling cold. I just felt so cold. And I felt so much pain. And the police broke down the door and they came in, and they called the ambulance. As soon as they came, the ambulance came, and the ambulance came, and the ambulance came and took me and him. We're in the same ambulance, if I'm not mistaken, or different. I can't even remember that part, because then they had actually just filled my body with morphine, and I remember I was still feeling the pain. And I remember them saying that, you know what, she has lost so much blood, and it wasn't safe to keep giving me morphine, so I'll have to bear it. Out of everything, the worst was watching my mom suffer through it. Like, my mom got there and the ambulance was still there, and my mom was like, she couldn't believe it. She held me and she's like, you're gonna be fine, and I was like, I'm sorry, Mom, like, you had to suffer through this because of me, because of my decisions. And my mom said, you're gonna be fine. And they took me away, and the last I remember was waking up like almost 2 weeks later. So I had been in a coma for almost 2 weeks. So I don't remember, like, the last I remember was just being in the ambulance and I was out. I really, really suffered a lot in this marriage. It all started so good. Like, he was such an amazing man. I thought that, wow, God has blessed me with such an amazing man. But obviously, that wasn't it. And I don't remember the rest. I remember just waking up and having to relearn how to write, how to even speak, how to even walk. I remember having to relearn everything. And I thank God that I am still here and I am getting stronger by each day. And I just want to do better. I just want to do better. If I could go back, I wouldn't get into the relationship. I wouldn't trust so much. I wouldn't trust people so much. I wouldn't believe people when they say they are comfortable and happy about something that they really are. I wouldn't have allowed myself to be in that situation. I wouldn't. I just want to apologize to everyone that might have been hurt from this. I want to apologize to my family for putting them through this. If I had known, I wouldn't. If I known I was gonna go through so much, I wouldn't have agreed to get into such a marriage. I'm sorry for the choices that I've made. I didn't ask for this. It just happened to me. I think out of the hardest thing that I had to go through, the worst was like hearing different versions of my story. People have lied. People have made up things. People have tried to drag my name. Even people I trusted, people that I called friends, they also made up stories. I've heard so many versions of my story, but I've never heard the truth. Nobody has been honest about it. And those are some of the reasons why I decided to tell my own story, because I lived it. And the good part is that some of our friends actually also have seen it live. They have seen the abuse firsthand. They've seen him being abusive towards me. They've seen the gun. They've seen everything. But hey, no one could stop him. And I think the only reason why he even took that one bullet for himself was because he thought I was dead. He thought that I was dead, and he just had to do it. It's been hard to live afterwards. It's been hard to pick up the pieces, and it's actually been hard. And I remember even when, after being in hospital, I remember I had to write even exams, and I thank my friends for always being there. Thank you guys, like, I love you so much. Thank you for my family for being there. I love you so much. I love you guys so much. My family was there through thick and thin, and those are the people that supported me. And to be honest, I want to actually also thank my husband's mom. Thank you for your strength also. Like, she was there for me. Even talking to her just meant a lot to me, because if there's ever one person who actually knew my relationship with my ex-husband, was his mom. Like, she truly understood us, and she supported us, and she loved us. And I had a great relationship with my mother-in-law. I had a great relationship. Even afterwards, she'll check up on me. We had like a good relationship. And I also want to apologize to her for the pain she has felt. She was genuine. She's a genuine woman, and I'll forever love her. But she's just the only one I love, and who has supported me afterwards. And I made a choice to walk away from everything. I walked away from everything. I walked away from all the businesses. I walked because I just feared my life. I feared that people would probably think that I want things, or whatever the case might be. I didn't want anything. The reason why I was with him was not because of what he had. I was self-sufficient. I had a great job. I had my own car, had my own career. I never had no kids. Like, I just could make it on my own. And that's one of the things he used to love about me. He was like, I'm so independent. And remember, like, he had girlfriends, and they used to ask him, what's so special about her? And he used to say, I wish you guys could know her. She's just a special being. And that's how he used to explain me to his then girlfriends, of which he left for me. I am sorry. And I decided to share this story because I want to tell the women out there that might also be suffering, that might want to get out of a abusive relationship, to get out. I know it's not going to be easy to restart your life, pick your life again up, and leave behind all the what people call as luxury, and leave behind all the money, leave behind all the things that you might think are important. There's nothing more important than life. There's nothing that will ever be more important than living. Just stand on your 2 feet and build yourself up. It's possible. And a lot of people suffer in silence. I was one of those people, because I thought that I was protecting my marriage. I wanted people to think that it was perfect, as they probably thought. I wanted to get help for my husband, but it wasn't meant to be. And so There's a lot that I left out, and you are gonna get it from my book. My book will be coming this year sometime. I'm still writing it, and it will have more details. And out of everything, just take away this. This is not to bash anyone, but this is to share my story, my truth, what happened on that night. And I think thoughts of suicide had already taken over his mind. Mentally, he was not healthy at all. He wasn't okay. And it didn't help that he used alcohol. Sometimes he would do all these funny things, and he'll wake up in the morning and say he doesn't remember a thing. So it was, if your partner is suffering and you can see that they're suffering, please get help for them. Don't take it lightly. And if he says he's going to kill you, trust me, he will. And get out as soon as you can. And I just wanted to share my story to tell people that God is amazing. God is always going to be there for you. There is a bright future to come, and just believe in yourself and forgive yourself and forgive others too.